Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you once again to the second part in our two-part series on bringing the Shul to the home. This is inspiration to uplift our spirits in the build-up to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And tonight, of course, we will be sharing with you some of the highlights, so many, but we'll share with you just a few of the highlights from the liturgy for Yom Kippur. I'm delighted once again to be able to welcome all the way from Yerushalayim, from Jerusalem, my dear Yedid, my dear friend, David Berhman, my madrich, my friend. He's everything to me. David, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Loud and clear.
Excellent. That's always a good start. So we are going to start tonight with Kol Nidre. And one of the great mysteries of the Yom Kippur day, which at least on the surface seems straightforward, we are all familiar with the idea: you make a mistake, you offend, you upset, you insult, you have to make amends. That part we get about Yom Kippur. It makes sense. What we don't get is the fact that we start with Kol Nidre. Kol Nidre, let me read to you in English a bit about what it means. All the vows, Kol Nidre, all the prohibitions, the oaths, the consecrations, and the list goes on, that we vow, that we swore, that we consecrate or prohibit upon ourselves. From this Yom Kippur until not next Yom Kippur, may it come upon us for good, and regarding all of them, they all become permitted. In other words, when it comes to Yom Kippur, the highlight with that haunting melody that touches the very core of our being, we start the day, the holiest day of the year, with not even a prayer, a legalistic formula for us to annul any vows and promises that we've made. It seems absolutely astounding, incomprehensible. Why would we start the day in this way? Let me share with you a little story, a true story, which I think will be able to shed light on this. The story involves somebody called Ben Carson. Some of you may have heard of him, some of you may not, but after the story, you will never forget the name. Ben Carson grew up in the slums of Detroit in a large but poor family. He was of African American descent, and he grew up in a dysfunctional family. He didn't have it easy, but he was very determined. He managed to get himself through high school, and he wanted to do something that was quite unusual in his day, in his circumstance, and that was to go to university and to study medicine. His mother encouraged him, and so it was. He turns up on the first day of university, and the professor calls him over, an outright racist, and says to this Ben Carson, he says to him, "What do you think you are doing here? Your type don't belong here. Go home." He went home very dejected, demoralized, upset. And as he walks through the door, his mum says to him, "How was your day, honey? You're going to be great. You're going to be fantastic. I believe in you. You're going to be a sensation." Goes back the next day. Professor calls him over at the end of the lecture and says to him, "I thought I told you yesterday, your type don't belong here. Go home." And this continues day after day. Each day the professor calls him over. Each day the professor tries to dissuade him, to tell him he's a nobody, he's a nothing, he'll never become anything. And every day he went home, and his mother, single mother, bringing up a large family, working day and night to support this family, she said to him, "You're a superstar. You're going to make it in life. I believe in you." And that's what propelled him and made him continue. He stayed in university 11 years. 11 years, not because he wasn't capable, quite the opposite, because he was sensational. And he went on not only to complete his studies in medicine, but he went on to study and to be a success as a surgeon and as a neurosurgeon. And in 1987, he carried out an operation on Siamese twins that was the first of its kind. With 50 doctors and nurses surrounding him, a huge team, he managed to separate successfully two twins that were conjoined at the head. It was a remarkable operation, and he won so many plaudits and awards afterwards. And in one of the ceremonies afterwards, they asked him about the secret to his success. How did he make it when he had such hardship around him? And he said it was the simple word of encouragement that I received from my mother day after day. Friends, words can either make worlds or they break worlds. We know that the Almighty created this beautiful world with words that we find in the Torah, and it is worlds in which we are able to transform people's lives with our kindness, with our compliments, with our positivity, or God forbid the opposite. A disparaging remark can destroy somebody's career, can bring them down, can lead them to having mental health issues, can break up relationships and do so much damage. And therefore, sticks and stones can break bones, but words will never hurt me. It's simply incorrect when it comes to Judaism. Words make and can break worlds. And therefore we start off the holiest day of the year at the holiest time, and we commit to making sure that the words that we utter from now on, the prayers that we are going to recite, are heartfelt, are sincere, and from now on we will mean what we say. Kol Nidre. I'd like to call upon Chazzan David Berhman, my good friend, to share with us Kol Nidre.
Kol nidrei ve'esarei u'shuvei ve'charamei ve'konamei ve'kinusei ve'kinuyei Din darna udeish tabana udacha rimena Udasarana alena shatana miyam kippurim zeh ad yom kippurim Habaleinu letova.
Thank you, David, for the beautiful rendition of those haunting words that move us and touch us every single time we hear it. We continue now with the next choice by David, which is called Amnon Cain. Amnon Cain, in fact, has its origins in this very country. It's an upbeat piyut, as we'll hear when David sings it, which was composed by one of the Tosafists in the 12th century. It was during the anti-Jewish riots that broke out in England around the time of the coronation of Richard the Lionheart. It led to the massacre of Jews across the country, and Jews, we know, were sieged in York. And their leader, Rabbi Yontov, decided that with two choices on the table, to convert or to give up their lives, it was better for them to die al Kiddush Hashem, to sacrifice their lives in the name of God. And therefore, that is what they did. And it is a piyut and an idea of faith in the most trying of circumstances. It is a message throughout the ages that we all know. Our nation, our people have suffered, been kicked from pillar to post, faced every type of persecution by every type of nation. And yet, V'hi she'amda, we have succeeded. We have not just survived, but we have thrived and overcome with our faith intact. I think it is a piece that really, really resonates with me this particular year. With a COVID pandemic, I remind myself that we can and we will overcome this tremendous challenge that we face. Amnon Cain.
Amnon Cain, Yetze Sochein, Banu, Bachlat Steak, Rav Tzedek, Bachlat Steak, Rav Tzedek, Vaneinu, Salachti, Go'ol Berakel, וגם פגל סיפרו דוד שואג בקול ייתן כל דברו סלחתי השם מצטער קו מהר כנאמר תמחה פשע לאמנושה תמחה פשע לאמנושה ותאמר סלחתי.
Wasn't that beautiful, everyone? I was swaying away. It was beautiful, David. Thank you so, so much. The next piece that David has chosen is Mochel Avonot. Thank you. Mochel Avonot, which speaks about the idea of forgiveness. Yom Kippur, friends, is all about second chances. God doesn't want or doesn't expect us to be angels. He has plenty of them. He doesn't need any more. But what he does expect and what he does ask of us isn't that in the same way that he forgives us, we have to find it in our hearts to forgive others. And we have to approach God earnestly and ask him for our forgiveness. If we think about it, second chances is the greatest gift that God has given us in creation. The opportunity to turn the clock back and to be able to start afresh, to start over. It is something that we have the opportunity to do in terms of God, if we are sincere, but it's also something that we can and we must do in terms of our fellow human being. To stand in front of them full of contrition and humility, to recognize, to hear their pain, to admit we've done something wrong, to show regret, and to express our determination and conviction that we're not going to do it again. That shows courage and strength of character. But it also is so liberating, as we are able to move on with our lives rather than just be stuck in the same cycle. Without further ado, I'd like to call upon David Berhman to share with us one of the most popular pieces in Woodside Park, Mochel Avonot.
mochel avonot amo, מעביר ראשון, מרבה מחילה לחטאים, וסליחה לפושעים, עושה צדקות, עושה צדקות, עם כל בשר ברוח, לא חרתם תגמול, לא חרתם תגמול. נהללת לנו לומר 13 וזכור לנו היום ברית 13 כמו שדת לענף מקדם כמו שכתוב וירד אדוני בינם ויתייצב עמם ויקרא בשם אדוני ויעבור אדוני על פניו ויקרא אדוני, אדוני, כן רחום וחנון, ערך אפיים ורב חסד ואמת, נוצא חסד לאלפים, נושא עוון ופשע וחטא ונקה, וסלחת לעווננו ולחטאתנו, ונחלתנו.
Thank you, David, for that rousing rendition of Mochel Avonot. We come now to the fourth of our pieces that David's chosen for us this evening, which is called Ki Anu Amecha. I have to say that this is one of my favorites, not so much in terms of the tune, but in terms of the words and their significance. It is so empowering. Listen, friends, to the following words. Ki Anu Amecha, for we are your people, and you are our God. We are your children, and you are our Father. I'm skipping a bit. We are your sheep, and you are our shepherd. We are your vineyard, and you are our watchman. We are your handiwork, and you are our shaper. We are your friend, and you are our beloved. Those words are so powerful. Powerful because it means that we have a real personal relationship with God. It's a relationship. It's not a bunch of do's and don'ts. Too often we get caught up, friends, in the details, in the guidelines, in the restrictions of what the Torah does say or doesn't say. But in reality, those are the means to the end. In essence, ultimately, it's all about that relationship. And it's about mending a strained relationship. We all make mistakes. Yom Kippur is about second chances, both in terms of God and in terms of our humankind. And usually those that get hurt during the year are our nearest and dearest. And therefore we have to have the courage and strength of character to be able to look our family, our friends in the eye, and to be able to admit that we've made mistakes. To err is to human, to forgive is divine. One final story which reflects this idea, which many a rabbi will share with you. And that is the story of a young man in New York who made it big in the stock exchange. He made a lot of money. And from having a good relationship with his parents, he became the know-it-all. He became overly confident and cocky. He didn't need anyone. He was haughty. He decided to get out. He said, leave me alone. I don't want to know from anyone, from anything. You're just annoying me. I've made it. Self-sufficient, self-made, moves up to Manhattan. He's got himself a beautiful penthouse. He's on top of the world. He's got the girlfriend. He's got the car. He's got everything he could possibly want and more. He carries on for the next year, living this wonderful life. And unfortunately for him, things don't continue. The life that he left behind and replaced with the life of material possessions and wealth and physical enjoyment came crashing down on his head. Stock exchange crashed. He lost his job. He had to get out of the penthouse, give up the car. The girlfriend left him. He was left down and out. Didn't know what to do. He felt completely alone. Out of desperation, he thought about what he had done. And he felt so guilty about the way he had treated his parents, having left them for the new life. He decided he was going to write to them a letter. And he wrote to them a letter saying, listen, you probably have disowned me after the shabby way I treated you. I was so rude, so disrespectful, because I thought I knew better and I didn't need you anymore. But I do need you, and I've learnt my lesson. I'm going to be passing through on a train, past the station, the local station near where you live in Pennsylvania. If by any chance you are interested in rekindling that relationship with me, put a flag on the tree that overhangs the station as we go past. And he's got his hood up. He's sitting there crying away, bewailing his fate. And he can't bear to look. He's told the person next to him the whole story. And they're getting closer and closer to the station. He doesn't know what's going to be. He's given up hope of anyone or anything. And all of a sudden, he gets a nudge from the guy sitting next to him. He says, look over there, as they pull into the station. And the tree is covered in white. White flags are adorning the whole of that tree. And his parents are standing at the station. And he runs out and he embraces them and cries tears of joy for being able to be welcomed home. That is what Ki Anu Amecha is all about. It's about knowing that whatever has happened, whatever we have done, God Almighty is standing, waiting for us as a father waits for their child and waiting to embrace and welcome us back. Ki Anu Amecha by David Berhman.
Ki anu amecha v'ata Elokeinu anu vanecha v'ata avinu anu avadecha v'ata Adoneinu Anu kavalecha v'ata chelekeinu Anu nachlatecha v'ata goraleinu Anu tzonecha v'ata ro'einu Anu charamecha v'ata notreinu Anu fudatecha v'ata yotzereinu Anu רעייתך ואתה דודנו אנו סגולתך ואתה אלוקינו אנו עמך ואתה מלכנו אנו ממירך ואתה ממירנו אנו עזי פנים ואתה רחום וחנון אנו קשי עורף ואתה ערך אפיים אנו מלאי עוון ואתה מלא רחמים אנו ימינו כצל עובר ואתה הוא ושנותיך לא יתאמו אלוקינו ואלוקי אבותינו תבוא לפניך תפילתנו ואל תתעלם מתחינתנו שאין לנו עזי פנים וקשי עורף לומר לפניך השם אלוקינו ואלוקי אבותינו צדיקים אנחנו ולא חטאנו אבל אנחנו ואבותינו חטאנו Nai, 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 ay, 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 ay.
That was absolutely beautiful. So moving, David. Thank you so, so much. You just mentioned the words that our days are like clouds that pass. Never has that been more true and resonated with us than in the current climate. We conclude tonight with the V'chol Ma'aminim. It's a central piyut for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur that expresses and embodies the key tenets of our faith. That God is all-knowing, He's all-powerful, and He is merciful. I was wondering when David chose this one, how do we square it? V'chol ma'aminim. Do we really all believe? It's an interesting question. How we stack up. How is our faith? You know, they tell the story about the great trapeze artist who had a wheelbarrow and he would wheel across great heights. And he asked the crowd, does anybody believe I can walk across these two mountains pushing a wheelbarrow on this trapeze? He said, they all said, sure you can do it, sure you can do it. So he goes backwards and forwards. He says, do you still believe I can do it again? They say, yes. So he says, who wants to come in the wheelbarrow when I do it? Not one person volunteered. It's easy to have faith, friends, when things are all going well. It's much harder when our faith is tested. But it's like a muscle that sometimes has to be exercised. Otherwise, it loses its ability. Our faith is certainly being tested. The same way that it's been tested in generations that have gone before. In the Holocaust, they tell the story. Whether it is true or not, I don't know, but they tell the story about the fact that God apparently was placed on trial in relation to the Holocaust. They had a judge and jury, and they sat and put God on trial. There was a prosecution and a defense. Was the God of justice? Was God there in the Holocaust? And they, in fact, found God guilty for the Holocaust. And immediately after they had, by majority, found God guilty, you know what they did? They decided that it was time to pray Mincha. Because I think that there are no atheists in foxholes. We all are people of faith. We give it different names at different times, and the fact that sometimes it conjures up a reaction means that we have faith. Yes, it's stronger sometimes, weaker in other times, but nonetheless, our faith is still there. V'chol ma'aminim, we all believe, by David Berhman.
v'chol, 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 ma'aminim shehu. V'chol, 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 ma'aminim shehu. V'chol, ma'aminim שהוא לאמונה הבוחנו ודק גנזי נסתרות וכל מאמינים שהוא בוחן כליות הגואל ממוות ופודה משחת וכל מאמינים שהוא גואל חזק אדן יחידי לבמי העולם וכל מאמינים שהוא דיין אמת החוק ואהיה מה שאהיה וכל מאמינים שהוא היה ויהיה הוודאי שמו כן תהילתו וכל מאמינים שהוא ואין בלתו הזוכל מזכיריו טובות זיכרונות.
Shekoach David, absolutely fantastic. A rousing rendition, V'chol Ma'aminim, with both tunes. Beautiful. Friends, I'm afraid we've come to the end of our evening of inspiration and uplift in preparation for Yom Kippur. We have brought a taste of our shul, of our songs, of our liturgy to your homes, and I hope that you have enjoyed it. Let me leave you with the following little story that they tell. It's a Hasidic legend relating to the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement. A girl once came to the Baal Shem Tov, and the story goes that she was crying. And he said to her, "Little girl, why is it that you're crying?" So she said, "Because I'm playing hide and seek, and nobody has come to find me." The Baal Shem Tov smiled and comforted her. And he said to her, "My dear girl, you should know that God has the same problem. That many feel that God is hidden from them, but no one's coming to find him. God is wherever we let him in our lives. It's challenging. It's not always self-evident. We may not always feel the palpable presence of him in our life. I recognize that this Yom Kippur is going to be exceptionally challenging for so many in our community. Kol Nidre through to Ne'ilah, we're not going to be together. But I want you to take your machzor in your hands, and whatever it is, say something in English or Hebrew, but say it with meaning, say it like you, say it with all your hearts. A heartfelt prayer never goes unanswered. Think about it. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur have such significance for the world at large. Last year, of course, little did we know but COVID was going to be written into the book, and we are all still struggling with it. Let us hope and pray that through us, in our homes, in our hearts, being able to have heartfelt, sincere prayers on behalf of the Jewish people and the world at large, for us to be written in the book of life, health and happiness and success, and for the world at large to see an end to this COVID terrible pandemic. We will see it speedily in our days. I look forward, please God, in welcoming David, you back to our community next year. We wish you all a Ketiva v'chatima tova, and I hand over to David to say his own farewell. David.
So wish you all a good and quick fast, and I hope very much to see you next year. I want to thank my father-in-law Michael for accompanying me, and Eitan for managing the sound, and see you next year. Chatima tova.
Ketiva v'chatima tova, everyone. A good Gebench Shul. Everyone should have health and happiness and success. Look forward to seeing you in person in the not too distant future. All the best. Take care.